Hi, myself Vaishnavi, Assistant Professor in the Department of Information Technology from SNS College of Engineering. Now let us see about the deadlock. So now let us see the definition of deadlock. So deadlock is a situation where a set of processes are blocked because each process is holding a resource and waiting for another resources acquired by some other process. For example, there are two persons who is calling the same person at a time again and again. So at that time, the two persons who call to the person, for example, consider a person A, consider a person B, and consider a person C. So the person A and B are calling person C at the same time. When they both call at the same time, then they'll get the busy. So this is the example of deadlock. For example, let us consider here there are two process 1 and 2. So each process have been assessed each resources individually. For process 1, resource 1 is asserted. For process 2, resource 2 is asserted. Even though that is asserted, the process 1 is waiting for resource 2 and the process 2 is waiting for the resource 1. So this situation is said to be deadlock. So let us see the characteristics of deadlock. There are 4 characteristics: mutual exclusion, hold and wait, no preemption, circular wait or resource wait. First, let us see about the mutual exclusion. One or more than one resources are non-shareable. So only one process can use at a time. This is said to be a, so here the processor 1 and processor 2. So it is said to be a mutual exclusion. Here there are two processors, so there are two resources are allocated individually for each processor, whereas the processor 1 is waiting for the resources 2. Then this situation is said to be a deadlock occurs. So the mutual is then hold and wait. So it's nothing but a process holding at least one resource is waiting to acquire additional resources held by other process. So for example, consider the process P1 which is waiting for holding R1 and also waiting for R2, whereas the process P2 is accessing R2. So no preemption. Once a process has obtained a resource, the system cannot remove it from the process control until the process has finished using the resources. For example, here the processor P1 and processor P2 and P3. So these are resources allocated by R1, and P3 and P4 are resources allocated by R2 and P2 is allocated by R1. So it cannot remove from the process control until it finished. So the previous processor which complete then only the other process can access. It will finish the first processor and then it will go to the first processor next which request it for to share the resources. So there is said to be no preemption. So here the processor 1 is allocated resource 1 and processor 2 is requiring resources 1. The processor has a 3 and processor 4 has been access to resources 2. So until unless the processor 2 complete, it will not be allocated to processor 1. So next is nothing but circular wait or resource wait. So the process in the system form a circular list or chain where each process in the list is waiting for a resource held by the next resource in the list. For example, so here if you have two resources and two processors, it will form as a circle and then it will share the resources and then it will wait. So when the waiting state is occurred, then the deadlock will be occurred. For example, consider here the resources R1 and R2 and P1 and P2. So resource 2 is allocated with P1 and process 2 is located with R1, whereas the P1 is required to R1 and also P2 is required to R2. So here the deadlock has been occurred. So this is the reasons which are the possible situation the deadlock can be occurred. So if any one situation from the among is true, then the deadlock is occurred.
Our case study on concurrent conundrum, a real-time exploration of deadlock in multi-thread system with insights from a banking transaction platform.
In today's fast-paced digital world, multi-threaded systems are the backbone of many critical applications, including banking transaction platforms. However, the simultaneous execution of multi-threaded can lead to common yet exclusive problems, deadlocks.
Deadlock has have serious consequences, causes system slowdown, freezes and error process. In the context of banking transaction platform,
According to the IT professionals and banking experts, they state that deadlocks are the ticking time bombs in the multi-threaded system. They can bring operations to standstill and disrupt critical processes, especially in the high volume of environments like banking. The banking experts states that ensuring the smooth functioning of transaction platform is paramount. Even a minor deadlock can result in delays and inconvenience for the customers.
to tackle this issue, we embarked a real-time case study analyzing the occurrence of deadlocks in a banking transaction platforms and devising strategies to mitigating their impact.
Monitoring and analyzing, we were able to point out the root cause of deadlocks, including resources, contentions, and improper thread synchronization.
Our case study yielded valuable insights to the intricacies of managing deadlocks in multi-threaded systems. By implementing proactive measures and best practices, we were able to enhance the resilience and efficiency of the banking transaction platform.